In the north of England, another challenge to the old order was gaining momentum. In October 1903, a small group of women met in this terraced house in the centre of Manchester, the home of the widow and political activist Emmeline Pankhurst and her three daughters, Christabel, Sylvia and Adela. And at that meeting, in this parlour, they set up the Women's Social and Political Union. Now, this was an age of do-goodery and busybodies. Organisations of all kinds politely, deferentially lobbying politicians for reforms, including votes for women. But the WSPU was going to be very different. Little did the women gathered here know that before long, one of them wouldn't be sitting in the parlour, but in a prison cell. In 1903, more women than ever before were in work, but the limits were suffocating. There were only 6 women architects, 3 vets, 2 accountants. Women were allowed to study, but at Oxford and Cambridge, they weren't allowed to graduate. And women still weren't allowed to vote. On the morning of the 13th of October 1905, Christabel Pankhurst was still respectable. She was a well-dressed, middle-class law student. But she was on her way to break just about every taboo she could think of. She was walking along here with her new friend, Annie Kenney, a working-class mill girl known as the Blue-Eyed Beggar. But what they were planning was truly shocking, because they were on their way to a huge political meeting at Manchester's Free Trade Hall, and they were determined, at all costs, to be arrested. The meeting was a Liberal rally, attended by the MPs Sir Edward Grey and Winston Churchill. Christabel and Annie jumped up onto their seats and yelled, "Will the Liberals give women the vote?" They refused to answer, so the women unfurled a banner, emblazoned with the words, "Votes for Women." Some people in the hall told them to shut up. Others cried, "Let the women speak." The police ordered them to act like ladies. In response, Christabel spat at the policemen and started to hit them. Exasperated, the police bundled both of them outside onto the street. It was proving a little harder to get arrested than Christabel had imagined. So again, she spat at the officers and hit them. And this time, they were arrested. "Never mind," said Annie Kenney, "we've got what we wanted." "Yes," said Christabel, "I wanted to assault a policeman." They were convicted and offered the choice of prison or a fine, and they chose prison.
Shout, shout, out with your song, cry with the wind, for the dawn is breaking.
Annie Kenney went to Manchester's Strangeways prison for 3 days. Christabel Pankhurst for 6. And their short imprisonment was an inspiration to women all over Britain. When Annie and Christabel emerged from Strangeways, there was a great crowd cheering them. And then, on the 19th of October, thousands of people went back to the scene of the crime, the Free Trade Hall, to welcome the women on their return from prison. Here in Manchester, the suffragette movement had taken a decisive step, and there would be no going back.